magic is not superstition nor fantasy. It is the science of higher dimensions. When one begins to know the many dimensions of our being, one can also act within them. In these higher dimensions, belief is no longer just a thought, it becomes a direction. Identity is no longer just a label, it becomes a felt presence. Emotion becomes more than mood, it becomes a power source. Thought becomes more than chatter. It becomes one of many pathways to choose from. And truth itself becomes a living state of being, a state of knowing. To shape our reality in the blink of an eye, we must surrender the illusion of the 3D world as our baseline. We must awaken to the spirit of our quantum, multi-dimensional self. But here lies the paradox. The unexplainable cannot be explained in the language of the rational mind. The human tongue can never fully define the depths of our metaphysical nature in a way that will be understood by all. This is why the greatest spiritual lessons are always taught through metaphor, through story, through experience, and most importantly, through the questions that stir remembrance. For one cannot teach the unexplainable. One can only point toward remembrance. It is then dependent on your own soul to recall what it already knows. And when remembrance awakens, manifestation, psychic perception, divine communion, the realms beyond dreams, and the very magic of our existence stop being theories. They become undeniable. They become lived experience. At this stage, the debate over what is real dissolves, because reality itself is seen for what it is. Only one layer of the being experiencing it. Yes, the astral realm is not real in the sense of physical solidity. Neither are dreams. They are the opposite of material reality. Yet paradoxically, the experiences we have within them shape the very reality we wake into. The dream is not reality, but it is true. The astral is not reality, but its effects on us are true. This brings us to a crucial distinction. Reality is not truth. And yet many live as if they are synonyms. This mistake is not small. It is one of the greatest denials of the human experience. When we equate reality with truth, we confine truth to the limits of the physical. We reduce it to what can be measured by rulers and proven by instruments. But truth is not confined to the 3D plane. Truth transcends. Truth is that which remains, even when the forms of reality shift, even when dimensions blur, even when science cannot explain. So when people say magic, manifestation, psychic abilities are not real because they are not scientific. What they reveal is not the falsity of magic, but the blindness of their definition of truth. Modern science itself studies only the physical, a mere 3 dimensions of a multi-layered, multi-dimensional existence. Magical acts like manifestation, timeline shifting, or divine communion operate upon the higher, subtler planes of being. They influence the 3D from above. They cannot be proven or disproven by 3D logic because they precede it. Instead of arguing about what is real and what is not, what is scientific and what is religious nonsense, we must learn to weave the two together. Science is not the enemy of spirit. Science is not a dictation of truth, but a method. And that method, when expanded, can be applied to the study of spirit as well. When we do this, when we allow science and spirituality to harmonize, we discover not only how the physical world works, but how our spiritual nature can shape it. Suddenly, the myths of our ancestors, the miracles of history, and the magic they lived by are no longer dismissed as superstition. but seen as living truths of higher dimensional science. At this point, it becomes undeniable. Science is as much the study of magic as it is the study of matter. The refusal to see this, the insistence that they are separate, is not an accident. It is a control system, not just over the physical and the spiritual, nor over good and evil, but over human consciousness itself. The collective egregores of old still feed on our division. Birthed when truth was rooted in religion, those who created them later taught us to deny their existence in favor of a new scientific truth. That denial became their strength, allowing the same divisions of the old world to persist in the new, only now backed by some scientific or psychological justification. Politics remains their strongest illusion of polarity in today's world. It is the battlefield where even families, brothers and sisters, even neighbors from the same soil, fall into hatred for each other. Why? Simply because they believe one philosophy, one position, one ideology is the truth in opposition to another truth. But the paradox most are unwilling to consider is this: the political spectrum itself is not truth versus falsehood, but a map of human nature. Every position, every philosophy, every side represents a fragment of the whole truth of humanity. And when you elevate one fragment as correct and demonize another as wrong, you create imbalance. You repress the fullness of human nature. You fracture the collective. Conflict and division among the people will always exist in such a system. This is not just a flaw of the system, it is the whole point of it. It has been present in one form or another since the ancient world. A metaphysical tool quietly improved, adapted, and refined behind the gates and temples of the pharaohs. The royals are now the wealthy elite. This is the sleight of hand, an illusion designed to keep the masses distracted and divided, while the few who understand the deeper truth maintain control. For politics, like religion, like science, like dogma, is not truth itself. It is an expression of polarity, and polarity, when mistaken for truth, keeps humanity asleep. So understand this. For as long as you believe science and spirit are enemies, for as long as you believe the political left or right are opposites, for as long as you cling to one truth over another, you remain divided. You remain asleep under the illusion of polarity, and those asleep to the truth will, and always have been, controlled by the awakened, under the control of the few, keeping you stuck in opposition, fighting for truth of a reality that isn't even true. This pattern repeats across human history, and with the age of AI already upon us, new truths and new systems are being birthed, new ways to control the population. Soon, nearly everyone will have access to all truths, access to PhD-level education, access to the wisdom and enlightenment of all religions, not just one. How do you think they will attempt to keep their power? How will this egregore evolve and adapt this time? They will control through the suppression of truth. They will control through the denial of many truths in favor of the few that benefit them. Yet this time, humanity has the tools to see through the illusion. And if we do, a future where we are all in control of our own lives becomes possible. A future of innovative creativity, an independent financial boom, where corporations and the greedy few no longer dictate the lives of billions. A golden age of awakening for humanity will begin. That is if we do awaken, for only if we realize that the idea of truth as we have been taught is an illusion, Can we no longer be controlled by that illusion? When we realize that truth is not reality, knowing that science and spirit are not in opposition, but just two aspects of something greater, we begin to realize that humanity was never meant to be divided, nor spirit nor truth. Because make no mistake, those in power will not surrender their control willingly. They will adapt. They will evolve. They will attempt to weaponize every new tool, every new discovery, every new system that humanity creates. Where once they used religion, later politics, and then science as dogma, now they prepare to use artificial intelligence. AI has the potential to awaken humanity, but it also has the potential to enslave it more deeply than any system before. We all intuitively know this, so of course they do too. For if AI becomes the gatekeeper of information, of truth itself, then truth can be filtered, manipulated, and denied at the speed of thought itself. The more we rely on it as a species, the more disconnected from our spiritual nature we may become, leaving the possibility of an algorithm not only telling you what to see, but what to believe, what to remember, and even what to forget. Not too far-fetched for our future selves. This is the new frontier of control, not through chains, not through armies, but through perception itself. And our awareness is standing at a crossroads. All future realities exist. The choice of which you find yourself in is ultimately based on what you believe. And for many people still asleep, what they believe isn't always what they want. So what must we be aware of? Censorship and suppression, hiding truths that threaten their systems, while amplifying those that maintain division, addiction and distraction, ensuring we are endlessly entertained, endlessly scrolling, endlessly numbed. Fear and false crises, keeping humanity reactive, never still enough to awaken. Algorithmic polarity, feeding one group one truth, and another group the opposite, ensuring humanity remains fractured. Synthetic egregores, thought forms, and collective illusions, born not from ancient temples, but from code, data, and machine learning, weaponized to keep the masses docile. Many of these are inevitable, but their success depends on whether or not they can control you. And thus merely being aware of them can ensure such methods fail to dictate your future, as this is where the opportunity lies. For the first time in history, nearly all of humanity will have access to all knowledge, the sciences, the scriptures, the mysteries of every culture. What once took lifetimes of study will soon be at the fingertips of anyone with the will to seek. The question is not whether humanity will have access to truth. The question is whether humanity will recognize it when it appears, or whether we will let it be drowned in noise. There are many paths before us. One is a future of division, of algorithmic control, where human beings become little more than predictable inputs in someone else's machine. Another is a path of awakening, where technology is not master but servant, where spirit and science are reconciled, and humanity creates not new prisons but new worlds. The choice has always been the same. Freedom or control, truth or illusion, unity or division, utopia or dystopia, faith or fear, hell or heaven. Let me remind you, all futures exist in the eternal now. And so, despite the illusion of 3D reality, until one manifests, the choice of which you wish to experience still rests in your hands. Do hurry though, for either you choose or the system chooses for you.